Hi everyone, this is the first episode of Meta Influencers, and I have the pleasure to have this amazing human being with me today. Bobby Umar, thank you for accepting my invitation to be my guest. And just a short story why I chose you to be the icebreaker of this series. Your videos were among the first to empower me to be myself, to be my best version, and to start learning from other people. So I'm really grateful to have you with me.
Hi, thanks so much for that. That was a really lovely sentiment, and I'm glad that my videos and my content is resonating and helping people. So yeah, and this is great because it's the first time we're doing videos. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here with you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Would you like to tell us something that you never shared on social media before?
There's so many stories that I have that I haven't shared. I think probably the one that I haven't shared on social media for the most part is the challenges with intersectionality and my wife, my kids, my family, because I'm part of a mixed family. Mm-hmm. And so, the challenges with my parents and having kids who are mixed ethnicities are things that I think are challenging almost every day. And I often, worry about, doing right by my kids. I often worry about doing right by my parents. And I think that balance, that conflict, and doing right by my wife as well, that balance of conflict is really, really challenging. And I'll share with you that, I had a big blowout fight with my father just a month ago. And
wow.
Because we're just so different, and he doesn't get it the way I am, and I don't get exactly how he's feeling. I have some ideas how he's feeling, but it was hard. I'm still thinking about it. It's still bothering me, but I haven't talked about it publicly. But it's just a reminder that even though I've been married now for a long time, like 16 years, it's still there and it still happens. And so
right.
I'm always mindful of my culture. I'm mindful of my wife's culture, which is different. I'm mindful of my kids who are mixed, and and then the struggles with my family sometimes to relate, to connect, to make sure they understand me and I understand them. I think that's is one of the hardest parts of my journey.
I'm sorry that you are going through this kind of experiences, but unfortunately, the generation gap, it's pretty hard to get close, right?
Yeah. Well, there's many gaps. There's the generation gap. There's also the cultural gap, because I was born in Canada and raised here, so I'm very westernized, and they are not. So right. There's many different gaps, but it's important to be mindful of those gaps too. And that's actually something that I've always wanted to pitch as my 6th TEDx talk, which is to talk about the gaps between our parents and ourselves and how it affects us.
Let's change a bit and ask you, what is your pet peeve?
There are a couple, but I think the biggest one is hypocrisy, and hypocrisy and ignorance. I mean, hypocrisy in the sense that you say you do something and then you don't. You say one thing, but then here's something that's completely opposite of what you've done before.
Right.
That happens in work, it happens in politics, it happens in social justice, it happens in all areas. And the hypocrisy that people express on a daily basis, or even every once in a while, that stuff really gets to me. And I understand, like I can sometimes screw up too, but the hypocrisy I'm talking about are the ones that they do it all the time, and they're not willing to acknowledge it. And the second thing is their ignorance, which is related to hypocrisy, which is they ignore the fact that how their words and their actions matter. They ignore how they impact people, positively, negatively. They ignore the fact that what they do is hypocritical, and so, or they ignore science, they ignore facts, they ignore information, they ignore or acknowledge points that are being made that make sense to one area or the other. So for me, that ignorance and that hypocrisy comes in many ways. It comes when people are late. It comes when people don't show up. So you relate to work, but I also relate to politics. And so for me, that hypocrisy and ignorance are probably my biggest pet peeves that I deal with on a daily basis, because I am political and I post a lot on Twitter, and I'm very big on talking about relationships and social dynamics and talking about bullying. For example, my video just today was on bullying.
Yeah.
So this is stuff that I talk about. So hypocrisy and ignorance are the ones that really get me.
I hear you very well about hypocrisy, especially hypocrisy. But well, I do hope that in time things will change, because with people like you around, I'm sure that, as soon as people will get to understand that things can be done differently, I do hope that they will change in time.
Yeah, and that's my message too, because like my message today, actually, my video was, everyone needs to speak up, stand out, and be an ally, like, because there's so many people out there that are being oppressed now on a daily basis, whether it's the minorities or immigrants or women or whatever, and they need allies.
Right.
Yes, the people who are women and the immigrants, and they need to stand up, but you need to have allies who are not those people to stand up. Men need to speak for women, and non-immigrants need to speak for immigrants, and we all need to speak for each other and help each other out. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, bridging, because I find so many people out there are really divisive, and divisiveness only creates more divide. And so I'm very, very mindful of being empathetic with love and kindness to bridge understanding and bridge connection and to create understanding, because we're all connected in some way. We all, no matter how different we are, how much we are different, we all want a better life. We all may, love our children. We all may, love hugs. And it's like, we can connect on many things, and it's okay. And I think there's less of us speaking up, but I'm trying to encourage more people to speak more and to try to bridge that divide.
If you were to look at yourself from the outside, why do you think that people follow you? Or if they are not following you right now, why should they follow you?
I spent a lot of time, getting feedback, and I think I'm pretty self-aware. I think most people will say that I have a warm energy about myself, so I'm very warm. A lot of people like the fact that I talk very casually and kind of, chilling, like we're besties sitting on the couch just chatting. They like that. They like the humor when I throw in a couple of jokes, things like that. And then I'm very open to talking about anything, being vulnerable about stuff. And I also, the thing I do a lot is I try to invest in the person. Like, how can I help you? Tell me your story. And I ask those questions very actively to try to create that power of connection. That's the first TEDx talk I did, which is how do I create that power of connection? It's by being is caring and communicating and creating that connection. So I think that's what people see. And then the last thing I'll say is I sometimes think people see, particularly when they see me live, they see an enthusiastic teddy bear. And when they see that, no, that's what I think. People have said that, and now I have the beard now. So like they see that, and I think it makes them more comfortable. Like I'm always very clear on my intentions and what I want to do and how I want to help. And so I think that really helps as well.
Judging or labeling, which one would you choose? If not, why not?
Judging versus labeling. I'm okay with judging. I think that, the human mind has the ability of free will to observe, analyze, create opinions on things. And I think, like judging people take that in the wrong way, just like networking. I mean, networking is essentially cultivating, building relationships. Mm-hmm. Judging just means that you're using your brain to come up with an opinion that hopefully is malleable and can move and change and evolve as a leader. But I have no problem with judging an action or an idea or a policy or belief based on my own personal experience. Labeling is, I'm much less into that, although I understand the importance of labeling when it comes to, say, target marketing. I want to target entrepreneurs. Okay, that's a label of some sort. I want to target moms. That's a label of some sort. But when people label according to stereotypes, or they use it to generalize for the whole, I think that's a big issue. That's where labels get. Labels are also often confused with name calling. So when someone says you're a snowflake or you're whatever it might be, like that type of stuff, that labeling, name calling doesn't help to create for me, I'm all about power of connection. That creates not a power of connection, creates divide. And so, the judging piece to me is fine. I mean, and judging is, we all judge. I mean, it's part of the human condition, human experience. I mean, how can you not watch a movie and judge the quality of it? How can you not watch someone doing horrible things and judge the horribleness of those actions, or judge the positiveness of those actions? We all judge. It's just a question of how we use that judgment.
There you go.
Exactly. In terms of how we engage people. So if someone does something I don't like, I don't say, you're an idiot. I'll say, you may want to consider this. When I engage trolls on Twitter, I'll say, I'd love to continue the conversation as long as you can please stop with the name calling. Can we do that? and then just engage. And as opposed to saying, you know what, you're an idiot for being a name caller, blah blah. And I don't do that. I'm curious why I say that. Can we have a better discussion? How you bring that judgment is important. And there's some judgments you should never say, and that's also knowing when not to say anything. And there's other judgments where you should ask. Is it okay if I? Sometimes with my wife, I'll say, can I give you some feedback on your resume? And she'll say, sure. But if I just say, hey, by the way, change this, that won't go very well, right? So, that's important.
It makes a lot of things change, right? The way that you say things, not particularly what you say, but how you say them, right?
Yeah. I also think it's very important. This is something a lot of people don't do. You should be willing to give an opinion or have a point of view on something that is able to evolve.
Right.
If people are very firm on, no, this is the way it is and it can't evolve, that's where they get into trouble, or they get stuck in their echo chambers or their own narrative. And our mindset is a very powerful thing, whether it also blog is.
Exactly.
But you should be able to have an opinion that's able to evolve. That's so important too.
And here we go about acceptance, right? Because we need to accept that things evolve, and we need to try to look to something from different perspectives, right?
Yes, I agree.
Another personal
curiosity. Questions, by the way, they're great. These are great questions. Wow.
Thank you. You're guiding people through your public speaking, right? You're sharing with them your experiences, and you're trying to pass along some lessons. So if you were to do something else than this, what would that be?
I feel like the ones I want to choose are kind of cheats because they're similar. I would love to have been a school teacher, right? Teaching high school, that would have been kind of cool. Or teaching college, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been an actor. I do acting, but not I would love to have been in the movies. That's one of my dreams as a kid, was to be a movie actor and be in movies and comedies and things like that. So, but a lot of them, they are very similar to speaking in terms of influencing and performing and presenting. I think that's the people thing has always been there, I think. Mm-hmm. So those are probably the ones that come to mind. That it's hard for me to think of something that's completely unrelated to the stuff I do when I look at my brand elements. I have 5 main brand elements, which is diversity, people, nurturing, performing, presenting, and persuading, influence. So you look at acting, you look at teaching, they're those things too. Right. You get diverse roles, you get diverse students, and so it's the same. It's hard to think of something that's completely, like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. Going into space would be the super coolest thing. I'm not a scientist guy, but I tried to get into science. I did engineering, so that would be, had I been good at science and I had gone to that path, that would have been really cool. I would have loved that.
And what happened to that dreamer, the kid that wanted to become an actor? What happened on the way?
Well, it's about feeling lost, stuck, or unfulfilled on your career. I felt lost in engineering. I felt stuck in my engineering job. I felt unfulfilled with the work I was doing. I was designing airplanes, but it was really kind of boring for me. And my biggest skill, my biggest thing that's about my brand is all about people and love. And so I was sitting at a desk 10 hours a day not talking to anybody. And so I was kind of miserable. And so while I had dreams as a kid to do that, and I went through engineering, I evolved and I started to realize that, my things that I care more about are about people and influence. And so, it just changed. It doesn't take away the dream. The dream is there. I still would love to go into space. And I asked my wife just the other day, I was like, do you think we'll ever get a chance to go into space? I know I'm in my 40s, but maybe when I'm 70, maybe it's affordable. Maybe we can just pay like a couple $1,000s and go into space, and that'll be amazing. And she's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, well, I can still dream. I want to get into space. So it's there. It just changes.
Right. I totally understand. But what about the actor? What happened to the actor in you? You said that
it's still there. Absolutely, it's still there. I'd always studied engineering while doing acting on the side, and it's still there, and I still have a dream for that. But I also have a wife, and I have 2 children, and I have to be mindful of my obligations. So, let's say I take my business to the next level because of this interview, and I'm making millions of dollars. I would probably fund my own movie. I'd probably go to Hollywood or New York and try to do a movie. I probably would do it because if I had the money, that's what I would probably spend my time on.
If you could turn the hands of time, what would you do differently so that you would somehow accelerate your path?
Oh God, there's so many things I would do, but I think the main thing would be to go back to high school before I started university.
Hmm.
I took a path at university because I did math. I was good at math and physics, and I did engineering. But what I didn't do is look at the things that I really care about, what I love, my personality. I didn't do the assessments. So if I dove my personal brand back then, I probably would have had a better idea of what path to take, and then I probably would have been able to save the time because I spent years being lost in stuff. I had 4 different careers.
Mhm.
And so I probably would have, if I understood personal branding, if I understood thought leadership, I would have understood the path to take. I would have done it a lot more effectively with networking because I didn't network back when I was a kid. I would have started creating content. I would have worked on my skills. I would have worked harder. I mean, I worked hard in my MBA, but during my undergrad, I didn't work very hard. I just partied too much, didn't work hard, got terrible marks. Probably would have just been more focused to understand what's the path that I want, how do I define success, what is it going to take to get there, and then do what it takes to get there. And I would go back to that 16, 17-year-old kid of mine and talk to him about that, because I think that's where I would have been able to forge maybe a different path, but a path to where I'm doing now, probably way earlier, because I didn't start my business for a long time, like 15 years before I got into what I was doing. That's a long time.
If you were to recall the best experience of your life, what would that be?
Well, I mean, gosh, it's hard to pick just one. I mean, when I got married, that was amazing. When I met my wife the first time, that was amazing. When I had my children, I mean, I've had so many amazing experiences with my kids. But I'll throw 2 things where I just felt amazing. So one was when I was 28, yeah. I went to this program for a month, and I was a program assistant for really amazing high school kids. And I had these amazing colleagues who were just really smart, passionate leaders, entrepreneurs. And then I had these young kids who I was working with and mentoring, and they were smart, passionate entrepreneurs. And that month was very intense. And we did lectures, and we did seminars, we went on trips, and we did amazing things. And that month was literally one of the best months of my life. I had so much fun. I forged incredible relationships. And those people are still some of my best friends, closest friends today, like dozens of them.
Wow.
To this day. Even the young ones, they're all in their 30s now. And then the staff that I was with, they're all in their 40s, and so that was amazing. And then the other one is I was in Haiti with my kids. So we took a cruise with my parents-in-law and my wife and my kids, and we were in Haiti for one of the stops, and we were just in the water. And I was with my kids. I had these little floating devices. So I'm here, and my daughter, she's 4, my son, he's 6, my wife is there, and we're just floating there, enjoying the beautiful sun, the beautiful vacation. I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about the stress of life. I was escaped and in the moment with my family, and I was somewhere in a beautiful place in the world. That was an amazing moment, and I just loved that feeling for a couple hours, the way we were on that beach in the water. I loved it.
Wow. Do you recall that movie when the main characters would live the same day over and over again? I cannot.
Yeah, Groundhog Day. I love that. I just showed it to my kids.
Okay, awesome. So if you could live over and over again that experience, would you go for it, or would you, keep on walking so that you gain new information or, new experiences from life? Because you said that it was right, that vacation. But
well, if I could escape from that day the way he did, I'd be all for it. Because then I learned to play the guitar, I played piano, I'd become a doctor, I would become a space scientist, I'd do all these things. But if I couldn't escape like he did, because I estimated he must have spent like 10, 15 years in that day over and over again, because he learned so much stuff. If I could escape, I'd be interested in trying that experiment. But if not, no, because the limitation of not having a chance to expand, grow, explore the world, watch my kids grow, all those things, watch myself grow, I would, and be limited by the number of people I can see, then yeah, I wouldn't want to do it.
I think you have a really valid point over there. But if we go on the other side, what would you like to share the worst moment of your life and how you managed to overcome it?
You're asking about stuff I never shared. So this is something I shared. Yeah. I mean, the worst moment of my life is something I haven't shared publicly. But I mean, I share with my friends. But I think the worst moment of my life was dealing with my family when I tried to convince them that, you know, I wanted to marry my wife. And there was a moment where, you know, my mother was really, really upset and crying a lot. And I felt extremely guilty for having caused it. And it was that moment when she embraced me and was bawling, and I felt incredible guilt and shame although I also knew that, you know, I also had to be firm about what I wanted to do and what for my happiness. But that was probably the worst moment of my life.
And how did you manage to overcome it?
Before it happened, I went to counseling and I talked to some counselors, and one of the things he told me was that you're not responsible for how people feel.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of people feel very responsible for how their parents feel. And parents will always say, oh, look what you did now, making me feel bad. Parents do that to kids all the time. And I even do that, and I try not to do that to my kids, but it's something we do. And I had a hard time shaking that mindset because I felt guilty, I felt responsible. But he's like, no, you express how you feel. They're responsible for their feelings. You can only be responsible for your actions. And so, you know, that helped. And then afterwards, you know, I tried really hard to be mindful, to keep calling them, to be the same positive person that I always was. I never changed the way I was and how I behaved with them. And I think that helped too. And then, you know, and then the other way to get over it is to be constantly focused on the task at hand and be grateful for what you're getting, what I was getting. And so what I was getting was a future life with someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And now we have beautiful babies. So it's all good.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Beautiful. How do you keep your energy like that? I mean, do you somehow have a morning routine or an evening routine that helps you keep that level of energy that you always show?
Well, I think the truth is I've always been a very high energy person. I have a lot of energy. Like now that I'm older, I can't do some of the things I used to be able to do when I was younger, like in my 20s, 30s. But
but when you talk to people, when you interact, when you create new connections,
absolutely.
You need some energy,
Sure,
and especially when you're on the stage, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Although again, I don't have the same amount I had when I was younger. But it starts with, the first thing it starts with is my purpose and my why statement, right? So when I wake up every morning, I know my why statement is the fact that there are lost, stuck, or unfulfilled leaders everywhere I go. And so it fuels my passion, it fuels my purpose of what I try to do, to create content, to run events, to speak, to do this type of interview, to help people who feel lost in their job or stuck in their career or unfulfilled in their relationships. And by knowing that, it fuels me. And I use that not just for business, but I use it for my family. Like in terms of helping leaders, I'm helping my children, I'm helping my wife, I'm helping my friends, my parents. And so that fuels me. That's very exciting. And the second thing is, I think because I'm such an extrovert, I'm socially, fueled by people. So when I like to book breakfast meetings, or I book calls like this, or I'll go on social media and start talking to people, because I find that gets me fueled up for the day. So when I meet people, I'm always engaged and ready. People energize me. It's the times when I'm all alone doing data entry or something, where I'm like, oh my God, how do I find some energy here? Because I want to quit. But when it's with people, it's very, very easy.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I'm completely the opposite. Maybe people won't tell, but I'm more like, I love talking to people. I do, but I would rather have this kind of conversations than being on a stage. So to me, being a public speaker, even though on one hand would be some kind of a dream, on the other hand would be, I don't know, something that I need to work very much for, to get there.
Well, listen, everyone can be a public speaker, and, I can certainly help you, and I'll help everyone that you know, but because I do that, I coach speakers. One of the things I'll say is that there are amazing introverted speakers out there, like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, and Susan Cain, speak really well as introverts. It's just a question of preparation. And the other thing is, whether it's 1, 10, 100, or 1,000, you just talk to one person. Keep it, like, if you want to just have a conversation and be a teacher and just share your story and share what the lesson is, that's all you need. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be like myself or Tony Robbins. It's not like, yeah, okay, boom, let's do it. Like, you don't have to do that. That's what I do. So my speaker story and brand is that, right? Engagement and humor and energy. And I want to talk to 500 versus I want to talk to 10. I want to talk to 500. You can just be talking to one person And there can be 500 people there, but you're just talking to them, like sharing your story. And that's, if you focus on that, then you'll be in a much better situation. And you can be a public speaker, and I can definitely help you if you want.
Thank you. Wow, I've learned something new today. I mean, all this, all this that we're doing right now is like, I'm also absorbing information, and I'm grateful, really grateful, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, that you are sharing with me this bit of wisdom that I definitely need, because, people at some point may not believe in themselves so much. So you giving me this information, it's really, really uplifting. And
yeah, and look, you're very articulate, you're very passionate about what you're talking about, and you find your own ways to build your energy, to share your passion. All it takes now is for you to come up with the right plan, strategy, and speaker story, and we can get you out there speaking on stage.
Oh, wow. Okay, but I will be like butterflies all over the place, all over my body, and I don't know.
That's fine. I have butterflies every single time. And butterflies means that you care. Every time, because butterflies means that you care. Nerves mean that you care. You care to deliver a message. You care about the people you're teaching. You care about doing a good job. So it means you care. The moment you don't have butterflies, you become an egotistical, narcissistic jerk. You don't want to be that. You want to be someone. No, you don't want. People don't like that. People like people who are more real and human. So it's totally fine to have butterflies.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, talking about public speaking, what is influence? What does influence mean to you as a general aspect? And do you see yourself actually as an influencer, or based on your answer for the first question?
So do I see myself as an influencer? Yes, because we all influence. Leadership is influence, right? Persuading people about your ideas, about your beliefs, about the things that matter to you. We do this every day in business, in social lives, and personal lives. So whether I convince people to go see a movie, or whether I convince people to invest in personal brand, whether I convince you to become a speaker, that's all part of influence. So for me, leadership, I see leadership as two things. Leadership is about evolving, growing, and changing for the better to serve yourself and people around you in the world. That's one piece. That's the service piece, and better yourself. And the other piece is about influence and leveraging that to, persuade, whether it's 1 people or 10 people or 1,000 people. So yes, I influence. And I think that influence is really, really important, because we all have skills and gifts that we want to share with the world to help other people. And if I can influence people to help them to get to a better place, great. Now, the truth is, influence can also be used in a bad way. And, sometimes I do that when I'm angry, but for the most part, I try to use my influence for good. There's other people that don't use it for good, and that's on them. But I think influence is definitely something that we should all be mindful of, and I think we can use, and it's totally fine to understand it. To me, influence is just persuasion. It's persuasion and connection, and when I connect with somebody, when I share ideas, when I share data, qualitative and quantitative, when I share my story, I'm able to persuade them to either believe something or act on something. And that to me is what influence is.
You really brought an interesting point to influence, at least for me. Curse or a blessing?
I think influence is a gift, and many of us choose to use it in the right way, and others will choose to use it in the wrong way. I mean, we have many gifts, right? We have the gift of free will. So my video yesterday was all about choice versus default. If you want to choose to have the life and choose the path, or you want to default to the path. We have choice. We have to exercise that choice. Influence. We have influence. So everyone does. We all have influence. Even a baby has influence. The baby cries, and I go change their diaper. Everyone has influence. Now, how you choose to use it, that's up to you. So influence is a gift. Our ideas are a gift. Our personality is a gift. How I speak is a gift. We have so many gifts. Free will is a gift, but you have to choose how you want to use those gifts. If you choose influence poorly, you'll have to deal with the consequences. And so that's just something to keep in mind. But I think absolutely influence is a gift. Is it a curse? Not at all. I mean, the curse only comes in the execution of it if you do it wrongly or poorly. But I wouldn't say influence by its very nature is a curse. I think it's a gift that we can use and harness and nurture, or we don't.
Do you think that there's enough room for all the influencers in this world, or do you think that they should go and race for the first place? because you said that it depends on how you use the influence, right? And we know very well a lot of examples of people that race for the first place, but maybe their influence may not be the best.
Right. Well, I mean, so the first question was, is there room for all influencers? Yes, I think there's room for everyone to share their voice, their story, their brand, their legacy, their impact, their influence. I think that's fine. You know, people can influence all they want. You don't have to do it. Like, if someone can, you know, raise the bar and do a video and say, Bobby, you need to invest in this stock, just do it. And I don't have to do it. I mean, they can talk all they want. That's fine. They're welcome to share their voice. That's fine. So that's fine. What was the second question?
The second question was if they need to race for the first place or not.
Race for the first place. Well, what does that even mean? Like, what does it mean to be in first place? I mean, you know, success is defined in many ways. People define it in different ways. I mean, I define success differently than most people. I say success is increasing happiness and fulfillment in all areas of my life. That includes my work, the people in my life, my passion pursuits, and my spiritual nature. Those are the 4 areas of fulfillment. And so for me, if I increase fulfillment and happiness in those areas and joy, then to me, I'm successful. Other people use money, other people use status, people use different things, people have different values, and that's fine. But for me, I think it's, you know, I define it that way. And as long as I define it that way and I can create that happy success, then I'm going to feel fulfilled and I'm going to feel aligned.
Interesting. You're definitely in your daily activity standing up for discrimination. Can you tell us about it a bit and about how you help everyone that you touch with your stories?
When they say things that are sexist or they say something that's racist or xenophobic, I will call it out. But the way I call it out is not in a way that, hey, you suck. I say, look, when you say this, it makes women or LGBTQ or ethnic minorities or immigrants or refugees feel this way. And so that can be perceived by people as racist or xenophobic or bigoted. So I would suggest you refrain from that and try to understand better how your words can affect people. And that's what I would say. And I say that on Twitter all the time. And I respond with civility, politeness, professionalism, and calling out that behavior. And, you know, sometimes people respond well, many do not, and that's okay. But at least I tried. At least I spoke up. And by doing that, the best way to connect with them is, number 1, to try to create understanding. Number 2, to show empathy for them and help them understand empathy for you and what you're talking about. And number 2, treat people with respect and dignity that they deserve. And if you do that, you're way more likely to influence them, create that connection, and maybe have them evolve their feelings a little bit.
That's really important. Right. I do agree with it. And if you were to choose a cause to support, what would that be?
A cause to support, man. There's so many causes. How can I put myself? I mean, you know, my biggest cause right now is personal branding. Like, I think everyone should invest in a personal brand to forge a path of success that they want, that keeps them more fulfilled, have more impact, and have more joy and happiness in their lives. And so I think if they want more alignment and they want more meaning, they want more impact, then personal branding is the way to go. And that's more of that's both business and personal. So for me, that's probably my big cause. And that's why I started the startup TYPD, because I want to get people aligned and more fulfilled and create that impact that they really want. Because that's what people want. People want to have more alignment in their lives, whether it's work or the relationships or things they do. They want more impact, whether it's work or personal. That's what they want. They want to have that story legacy that they can feel part of something and feel proud of when they look back on their life. So personal branding is a huge thing. And then in terms of you know, the other thing I'll say as a cause is I'm going to call the
humanitarian causes. Maybe I
mean there's so many, but you know I try to think of the most vulnerable people on the planet, and you know, I think of children, I think of people who are sick, I think of people who are poor, I think of people who are homeless. And so for me, like, if there are people in the world who are particularly children who are sick, poor, homeless, and just these vulnerable little angels going through so much trauma. That to me is the greatest thing we can do to work to help them in any way possible. So when people come to me, hey, donate for something for that's not little kids, I'm less likely. When that to me, that's the biggest social cause. Like, I'm always talking about kids, and people have no empathy for children. That blows my mind. And I think we need to be really mindful of that, because we were all kids once, and they're literally the most vulnerable people on the planet.
And in the end, they are the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They will remember how we treated them. They'll project the pain that we put upon them unnecessarily, and they will, they're going to grow up and feel that way, and it's going to be awful. So the people nowadays who would project this stuff, probably had something from their childhood that got to them. So I want to be mindful of that, and that's why I think that would be a great cause.
I see. I understand perfectly. But if you were to have so much money that you could not count, how would you effectively use your influence? For any of the causes that you mentioned previously?
Well, one of the things I would say is that you could have all the money in the. I mean, I could have $1 trillion, but I wouldn't be able to solve every single problem. I look at what Bill Gates is doing. His focus on malaria, and that was good because you could, if I have even just $10,000 and I give $1 to 10,000 charities, how effective is that? Not really. But if I gave 10,000 or say 5,000 to 2 small charities, maybe that's far more impactful than the $1 across.
Correct.
So you have to choose where you want to spend your time. Now, if I had all the money in the world, obviously I'd say, I'll deal with all of them. But I think it's important to pick like 2 or 3 ones you want to focus on first. And I think that if you look at, I think poverty. If we can just eliminate poverty, people who are poor, and if no one in the world had to worry about making money, and they could just pursue what they want, get educated, and pursue their passion and their dreams, you're going to have a lot less of all the other bad things in the world in terms of war and terrorism and conflict and all this kind of stuff. So if you can eliminate poverty and despair and hopelessness, that's the stuff where money should go towards building and fixing, if anything. That's what
because that's
the first step.
That would eradicate theft and a lot of anger.
Most of it, yeah. Yes. There's still always going to be people that want to, steal and whatnot, but it's going to get rid of a lot of it, which is good. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this, Bobby. I really appreciate your time that you took for this question today.
These are great questions. I love it.
Thank you very much.